Hey everybody, Derek Floyd here, Beautiful Now Podcast. Welcome to another edition of Chasing the Impossible. This is the segment where I interview special guests who seem to have accomplished impossible things along the way to let you know that no matter how far your dream may seem, how impossible it may seem to you right now, if they can accomplish theirs, then you can do it too. But if you like the content you see here today, do me a favor, stop right now and pause. Hit me with a like and a subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell right next to it. This lets me get the most updated content to you as soon as it's available. And as always, the most important thing you can do for me is to share the content with a friend. We want everybody to live uplifted, encouraged, and inspired. Now, today's segment is actually going to be talking about culture and rap hip hop culture in the music industry. And if you didn't know, if you want to put on something positive, there's a whole genre of music you can be listening to in your car for your kids. And we found that there's a company called Rapzilla that's kind of doing the guarding of this genre. They're the voice of this new generation. And we've got one of the actual co-founders here to talk to us about what Rapzilla has been doing behind the scenes, helping Christian hip hop become to the forefront and making sure your kids have a positive message. Please help me welcome my new friend, my main man, Mr. Chad Horton. Chad, you there for me, brother? Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
There he is, man. What's going on, bro?
Man, just coming off a crazy week of work in LA, collecting some
Uh-oh.
content from artists. But yeah, man, just working.
That's what we do, man. You got to hustle, right?
Yep,
The
paying the
grind
bills.
never stops, right?
Right.
Never stops. Well, man, I'm just
Yeah,
glad you took a few minutes to talk to us. We sure do appreciate you spending a little bit of time. And, you and I kind of just met, and I really loved your story. And I just thought, man, the subscribers will really get a lot from hearing how you've come to where you've come and where you're going and the mission of what you're doing. It's just a blessing. So thanks for taking the time, man.
my pleasure.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and dive right into the interview, man. Let's talk a little bit about you and the mission. You are the owner slash the chief dishwasherzilla.com, right? So tell me a
Yeah,
little bit about that company and the mission of Rapzilla.
yeah. So the company was founded in 2003 by Philip Rood, who I've known since then, and prior to him starting it, have both been a part of the scene for quite a long time. I came alongside with him in 2010 um, as co-owner, and that's kind of when things with the genre and with Rapzilla, um, it was like the perfect storm, and everything just really took off. Um, so yeah, we've been going since 2003. We're a leader in the space, and yeah. So the mission there is just to basically bring the gospel to the world through Christian hip hop. Um, and that's through a variety of you know ways that artists deliver and package it, and we essentially come alongside artists and share their music and their content to the world through our website, through social media, and events.
That's a lot starting off, man. That's a big mouthful to chew on, Uh, and considering, we both have heard, we both know Christian hip hop has had an uphill climb. It's had its critics. People believed, didn't believe, thought it was hogwash, whatever. I mean, just gave
Yeah.
y'all a hard time. What made you decide that it was time to do Rapzilla in the middle of all that controversy?
um, yeah, I mean, it has been tough. I mean, you have like some churches that are on our team, that don't actually believe hip hop is something that God can use, which has been a challenge. And then, you know, um, we had to overcome challenges as far as like, people saying that Christian hip hop is whack and it's corny and this and that. And it's like, really we on our side of the fence, we just try to present things as high quality as any other company or brand, in the world. Um, but ultimately, like the artists need to deliver on their end and create, great content. And so, I think we've gone through several years of showing great content. The artists have delivered great content for, I mean, probably 15 years, I would say, um, of great content. And so, there's really nothing anyone can say other than they just don't believe in God, and that's why they don't like the music, because the quality of the music sonically can stand up, next to anything else that's out there.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I'm sure in the early years when you were just getting started, there's a lot of haters out there. I mean, there's less now, and there's still haters, but there's less than there was because you guys have really put the name out there and put up on the map.
Yeah.
What's been the fuel that kept you going all those years, even as they were hating on you guys?
I think just, again, like going back to the mission, like I know how I grew up. I didn't grow up in the church. And so, um, you know, when I heard the music for the first time, you know, um, obviously I'm like, man, if I heard this kind of stuff, and heard the message delivered this way, my life could have been different. Not that I would necessarily change my, how I grew up or change my life, because I believe that, um, that this is how God had planned it. Um, but like I just think of, I have kids now. I think of, all the kids out there that have an option, like they can listen to whatever they want from their phones. And so, for me, what kept me going was knowing that we're taking the music and content that artists are creating, and we're making it available to kids across the world, and giving them an opportunity to hear the gospel and to have an alternative to the music that's out there on the mainstream. So that's something that definitely has always kept me going. And then just, knowing that, we are a key component to this niche market of Christian hip hop, that, a lot of artists rely on us to, help be a main part of their music growing and to developing them as an artist and a career and all of that. So those are probably the two main things that really have kept me going.
Man, that's a blessing. Um, and I think I love that you're putting in the fact that you're trying to help those other artists break through. You're trying to help them get better. And I noticed you saying, you're putting out quality content. People that are coming through Rapzilla, I know you have a good filter. You're not just gonna release any old thing through your website and through your channel.
Mhm.
So that puts a higher stamp of approval, a little bit better of a market to say we want to be able to create the best content that's out there, par to when artists like Lacrae or Andy Mineo or KB, and I mean, there's a whole host of others that have come through that have really kind of cracked the ceiling, so to speak. Bringing Christian hip hop to a forefront. How has that
Mhm.
made people's perception validate you now? Or are they just like, oh, whatever? How's that worked for you toward that space?
Yeah, I mean, that was, kind of like the perfect storm that I was talking about, where, it was around 2010 that, um, that I came on with Phil, before he left, around 4 years ago. I came on with him, and we, just started doing things like, um, that nobody else was really doing, in our space. And then I was doing things, on the mainstream side that I worked on, like going to allhiphop.com and hiphopdx.com, which, were the leaders in, providing content for the hip hop world during that time. And I would write for them for free. And I would write about the milestones that were happening in Christian hip hop, and they gave me that platform to do that. And I was doing that for the purpose of, helping to crack Christian hip hop into the mainstream hip hop market and put it on that platform. And so, um, so like for example, when, aside from pushing like content and getting videos and music posted over there that I felt was palatable to the mainstream, I would write about, and provide information to them about milestones like Lacrae's first week of sales of whichever album it was, like outselling 2 Chainz in the first week, for example.
Yeah,
And
anomaly.
this is when nobody, yeah, it might have been Anomaly. I feel like it was before that, but it might have been. And, at that time, they're like, who is this guy? that we never heard of that's outselling, 2 Chainz. And so then when they start looking into it, because they obviously need to write about somebody that's, putting numbers up like that, they found out the story. And the story obviously is, oh, this is a Christian rapper, whether they wanted to be called a Christian rapper or not, like that was the story. And, and so like that was the perfect storm. Like we were doing things that nobody was doing on the Rapzilla side. And then Reach was and Lacrae were making, hitting these milestones that have never been hit from our genre, and they were putting numbers up on the board that were equivalent to, people in the mainstream. So it was really the perfect storm, and that's kind of what put, things on the map consistently, from our side. And yeah, so those were exciting times, and kind of made people like, again, like you couldn't deny the quality, and give respect for the quality on our side and on the artist side and the label side. um, but the only reason you wouldn't, I would say, is really because you just didn't agree with the message.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. So then, you guys have somewhat been validated. You've seen some artists come through. You've been able to help shape and mold what people think about Christian hip hop. And then they get to be critics after that. They're thinking, oh,
Yeah.
well, you guys aren't really real, whatever. Do you feel like hip hop culture influenced Christian views of artists like that? Or is it the other way around? Like, the artists are influencing the view,
Yeah.
what I mean is Christianity influencing Christian hip hop, or
Yeah.
is the hip hop culture influencing Christianity? How's that work in your space?
Well, it's always been both, right? It's like people make mistakes on our side when trying to go over and impact that side. Some, fall away and never come back. Some, make a correction. And then on the other side, it's, a lot of, artists on our side influencing, people on that side, making relationships, helping people grow with our relationship with God. And, you know, so it's both, it's not one or the other. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, with Christian hip hop now at this point. So I've seen anything and everything happen. And that's just, I mean, that's just life. That's just the walk, that we walk. And so, I've seen both, and it's been amazing to see, a lot of people be changed. I mean, we, at this point, it's been going on, like I said, for well over 20 years, but I've been involved for 20 years. And the people that I see that are now like celebrities and, some of the biggest sports players and whatnot, they actually grew up with Christian hip hop. Because the people that are in the big leagues coming in are like 19, 20, 21. You got influencers that are that and younger. And so, those people, um, grew up with Christian hip hop and like, are now, influencing the world on a large scale. So it's been crazy to see and cool to see on every level.
And I love that you are seeing the young people come in and do it. You're seeing them come in and change things. And that's what I was hoping to hear. From our side, it's difficult on the outside when you see how culture looks. People put a label on it immediately, and as soon as you don't look like what they think you should look like, you're the other side. And I hate, number
Mhm.
one, that we have to label things like that side's a big fan. He's like, I'm not a Christian artist. I'm just an artist that talks about God. That's his space. And I know what he's trying to say, and I appreciate that heart for that. Because I know when we separate each other, that makes it worse, really. We should be able to just do what we do well. And if I want to talk about God, I'll talk about God. You want to talk about love, whatever it is. But we make these big hills, You're on this hill
Right.
and I'm on that hill, which is terrible. And I think it makes it worse for the person in between just listening, that he has to choose one. He can't have both, or at least have a version of what he's looking for. So tough there. But I'm glad that you guys are in the middle, making it easy for the young kid that's just growing up, who as has the ear for hip hop, has the vibe. He wants to dress like it, has the whole thing. He can still be him, and have a God covering on what he's listening to. That's kind of a cool vibe. I really appreciate that about you guys.
Yeah, yeah, it's been great. And I mean, like I've gone back and forth over the years, like on the label, like Christian rapper or Christian artist or whatever. And it's like, even on the hip hop side, mainstream hip hop side, it's, you have artists that don't even want to be called a rapper. They just want to be called an artist because they feel like any kind of label will box them in. But when it comes down to it, like from a marketing standpoint and from, a sales standpoint, it kind of started when CDs and tapes were still around. And it's like, okay, I know what I want to go. It's just like a grocery store. I know what I want to go get and look for, but how do I find it? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't just go ask someone every time you go to the store, like, where's the milk? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's in the
Yeah.
dairy section. Or where's the cereal? It's in the cereal section. And so, like, that's the same thing with music. It's the genres. It's when you go on iTunes or Apple Music or Spotify, it's like, how do I find the kind of music that I like if I don't know what I'm looking for? That's kind of what labels serve a purpose on, whether you agree with them or not. It's like they serve a purpose and they are beneficial, but, I understand that they can feel like they put artists in a box if they subscribe to any kind of label,
I
but
love that
it is
analogy
what
you
it
just
is.
gave. Go to the grocery store. You got to know what aisle you're looking for. So now that you've been out here all this time and you have seen it come and go, you have seen artists swing through and swing out. How do you see Rapzilla helping other Christian artists going forward, help a path to express themselves? How do you see that going forward for you guys?
Yeah. So, we kind of have a really cool thing happening where we have this show on Fridays called Critique Fridays. That producer, very dope producer, On Beat Music, um, or OB for short. He each Friday we go live on all of our social media, and he critiques artists' songs or production beats. And the whole point of the show is to critique them to get feedback so they can become better before they release, preferably. Some artists just come and they just want to get the exposure, which is fine. But the real goal for us is to put the artist development into our space, because there really is no artist development in any space. Even with major labels now, they don't really do too much artist development. It's mostly, what are your TikTok numbers? Okay, we'll sign you, and
Mm-hmm.
so with Critique Fridays, that's really the artist development, because we'll give them advice on if they have a name that's marketable, or not. We'll look at their visuals. We'll, give them feedback on what they're presenting to the world, before they release their music, so they can make it as good as they can possibly make it. And then a lot of artists and producers and label people all connect there and end up building relationships and putting out music together. And we've been doing it for 3 years on Critique Fridays, and so we've seen some of the most, buzzing and trending artists right now came from there. The first time we heard them, and when we heard them, they weren't necessarily good yet, and then they developed, and now they're some of the most, buzz artists that, some of them are Rapzilla freshmen, and so that, and then we work with artists and do, distribution, digital distribution, and I help, um, where I was at a company for 8 years, to do digital distribution and pitch that to, the editorial teams at streaming for many years. So I have relationships with there and inroads there. So we help artists get pitched to be on editorial playlists, um, and try to help them launch through, getting on those platforms as well. And then we put them on our playlists, which have considerable amount of followers. And then we use Rapzilla's platform, Rapzilla.com, and our social media. So we really are involved, like from the beginning stage through, the process of trying to grow them into, like, a household name within our space, and then hopefully beyond, as they grow, their sound and their marketing, to help grow them into bigger playlists that are, basically mainstream playlists as well.
Man, you guys are doing a lot for the cause, bro. I mean,
Yeah,
you
we're
you
trying, man.
I mean, I could imagine if I was a Christian hip hop artist, I would have to call Rapzilla. I'd be like, man, I got to get to Rapzilla. They're the ones doing the most for the platform. So just cool to hear all that you're doing, and also hear you're doing beat battles now. Like that's different from the Critique Fridays. Beat battles, how that started, and what are you hoping to accomplish from that?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember, but we did partner on a couple of those. It was probably 5, 6 years ago, but we were doing them annually until the pandemic hit. So we did those annually at Flavor Fest, which is an annual event in Florida, in Tampa. That's actually where we found, you know, On Beat Music, which we work with now, and who's one of the most, revered producers in our space at this point. Um, so we probably did, 7 battles over the last 10 years where we were doing them annually up until the pandemic. And then we did them at A3C in Atlanta, which is a mainstream festival and conference. But I'm ready to bring them back, and do them online. And, but maybe at this point, in person again, because people, we're actually coming back now. So, so yeah, I mean, we did beat battles, provide prizes, work with partners like you guys to provide prizes, and then just help producers in our space because they're at least 50% of a song, or more, and so like we want to help, always try to help provide them a platform and help provide them more visibility and everything that we're doing too, and they're just fun, like at some point you get tired of hearing people rap,
Right,
and then,
right.
it's just like, just let me hear some dope music that I've never heard, and it's just fun. Like, it's so fun to be at a beat battle and just, everyone listening to hear, because if you're an artist and you perform a song, like
Hmm.
people don't know the words. And so they're just
Hmm.
trying to get into it and hear what it's
Hmm.
about. But with beats, it's like, if it goes off, like everybody just goes off and has
Everybody's
fun,
like, hands up, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking, and with so much going to few live events, I'm sure you guys are looking to join other live event vehicles that can help them get some stage presence, some stage experience. How would you do that, and what kind of vehicles are you looking at now for Rapzilla for live?
Um, I mean, we do some events, a couple events, maybe a year. We're partnering with Summer Summerfest, which is going to be the largest Christian hip hop festival. It's going to be in LA, at a stadium, and there's going to be a ton of people there with MC Nice, and his radio platform is on Dash Radio. And then we're doing our own event for the Rapzilla freshmen. It's going to be a pool party slash barbecue that's free to the public in Atlanta, and that's happening in July. So all the freshmen will be there. We're going to shoot content. We're going to have 1K Few, which is one of Lacrae's artists on Reach Records. He's going to headline, and we're just going to bring together, as many people we can in the community in Atlanta and whoever's traveling in, and do events, like that. And we do come alongside other events throughout the year and just help promote those events that are trying to put on for the culture.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Man, I'm not gonna take too much more of your time. I got just one, two more questions. I'm gonna let you get out of here. I know you're a busy man trying to help all these artists get back out there. With Rapzilla now having such a strong voice in Christian hip hop, you guys have a unique voice now. You see so many people trying to enter the genre. Are there certain nuggets of wisdom you would say to that new guy coming in? Like maybe one or two things you'd say, look, you got to know these two things before you step into this genre. What would they be?
Wow.
Because you've seen it all. You've seen them
Yeah,
make the mistakes. You've seen them succeed. Where
yeah.
would you say
I
to
would
that guy?
say, like, first and foremost, like, make sure that you know the Lord and you have a strong relationship, because, once you get, we see rock stars and celebrities get, clout and get money and get fame, and then they just really, you know, crash and burn. And so it's no different in our space. It may be on a smaller scale, but, um, you know, it gets to your head. It gets in the way of your priorities, which, is your relationship with God. So I would make sure that you are solid and you have a team around you for accountability, and you are involved with your church, to get those things. And so that would be number one. Then number two, I would say is, it's like it's hard to find unique sounds in music in general, today. And so I would say, like, find your voice where you really feel like it's your voice and it's not you emulating another artist or another sound, because that's really going to make you stand apart. And I know it's hard to do because it's easy to, copy and emulate, and that's okay now. It wasn't when I was younger. So when I
You're not
do
that
find
old,
those
man. You're
people,
not that
yeah,
old.
yeah. When I do find those artists that are unique, they really
Yeah.
stand out. So I would say find something that's unique about you, sonically and visually, and really just find your own voice and your own story to tell.
That is phenomenal wisdom. We need to share that wisdom with everybody, not just people in this
Yeah,
in the industry space. I mean, your first tag was like, "Look, man, know the Lord, know, be tight, have your relationship with God tight, have a support system around you that's these days. I mean, these people supposedly know God, and you get to space and you get too much into your head, and you think it's all about you, and boom. So
for
we
sure.
completely understand that that's so. It's just reality. We got to be careful with
Yeah,
that. So thank you for making that direction clear and saying, man, just get solid with God first and get you a team around you, and then be unique. People are so afraid to be different, and I just did a video a couple of days ago. If you guys are watching, check out the video on my channel called Think. I mean the video on my channel called Think Different. It was just a 2 minute motivational video, but it was talking about we're so scared to be different. And I said, don't despise being different. Most of the people that were ever different did great things. The ones that
hmm,
were the misfits, the ones that you didn't really know, oh, how are they going to be? What they were the ones who did the big things. The
right.
Elon Musk's, the Albert Einsteins, the Jimi Hendrixes. These are people that weren't quite in the mold. They broke the mold. They did find your voice. That was really good wisdom. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. So I'm subscribing to it, and I'm not even in the. I'm not easy. With everything you've accomplished with Rapzilla, and you guys have done a lot. Where do you see you going next? What's the next chapter for Rapzilla? Where you headed?
I would love to get into film, more, not necessarily movies, but just creating, content. Um, I for our platform, I've always aspired to grow into like a complex network, where they're providing shows, or documentary type content, because we're in a very, visual, uh, space, as far as the culture goes, and that's what we consume. So I aspire to grow into that. But I think we're doing right now what I want to be doing for the future, as far as helping to develop artists, create a pipeline for them to grow as artists, and then, to help them continue to the next level as well. So I think that's going to be what we're going to continue to do, and hopefully just find new ways to do it like we always have.
I love it. I love it. I love your message, man. And I gotta say, I fell in love with Christian hip hop younger. Obviously, I'm old now. I'm 51, so I'm older than you. But when I first found it, it made me feel like, okay, there is someone that looks like me. Because so many kids are coming from the inner city. Maybe they got their dreads, maybe they got their pants like, and maybe they're coming in, they look in a certain way with a certain culture, and first you think, oh, they must be thug or they must be this, that, and the other thing. But Christian hip hop told me, no, they may not be, and you can't just judge somebody how they look. You can't just judge somebody how they swagger is, because they may be in
Mhm.
full swagger for the Lord. You just can't go
Right.
there, right? And it made me check myself. Like I would see somebody and go, oh, they must be hood. They may be hood for God. How you gonna call that out? So
Right.
it makes you really recheck how you look at folks, how you deal with people, and you guys are setting the standard. So I appreciate what you're doing out there, man.
Man, it's an honor to steward the platform for God, and to really help, um, help artists, and make a stamp, during my time, in this. And so thank you for the platform, and thank you for, coming alongside us. We're going to be partnering with Critique Friday, so I'm excited for that.
Yes, yes.
And do other events too. So I appreciate you using your platform to do the same thing we're doing, just on a different platform.
Exactly. And I want everybody out there that's watching, if you have a young person, maybe what loves listening to hip hop, and you thinking he's listening to the wrong thing, Go to www.rapzilla.com. There's another answer for that young person, that if you want to lean them towards some positive influence, some positive music, this will be his generation. And they're trying to bring positive influence, trying to bring God to these kids out here that are in the hip-hop culture. So we thank you guys for that, and we thank you for watching. If you enjoy the content you see here, do me a favor, hit me with a like and a subscribe, and send it to the next person who needs to hear something good.